Today on Tag Lab, we have an extra special episode with a bit of a twist. Both of my guests are not only phenomenal entrepreneurs in their own right, but they both happen to be my sisters. So huge welcome to Hazel and Fiona today.
Hello.
Hello. Delighted to have you both here. So I wanted to do this episode because the likelihood of running a business as a woman with employees and being going for over 8 years, the likelihood of that to actually be your reality is less than 1%. So both of my sisters and myself have been running businesses and fit those categories. And so I think the likelihood that we are all actually doing that is absolutely tiny. So I think there's lots of unique insights that we can all talk about and share today. So we will cover scaling businesses, we will cover family, we also have 8 children between us, so there's a lot of interesting insights to glean there and everything in between, so enjoy the conversation. So I'm going to start with a bit of an intro to both of you. So Fiona, can you start with a very succinct intro to who you are and what your business is?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Fiona Ross and I am the founder and clinical director of the Aesthetics Club. We are an aesthetics and skincare company and we have 3 clinics in the UK. So we've got 1 in London and we've got 2 in Glasgow and we are opening 1 in Edinburgh later this year.
And Hazel?
So I am Hazel and I am the founder and director of Glasgow Dance Academy. We are a dance school that offer dance education and training to young people from 3 to 18. We started just with myself with a handful of students and we now have 4 locations. We teach hundreds of students every week and we have a team of about 8 teaching staff now.
Amazing. So we're going to dive straight in. What in your upbringing do you think positioned you well for starting and running your own business?
I have thought about this loads and I would say that both our mum and dad, they're quite risk averse, I would say. Like neither of them have their own business apart from our mum's small venture into a baking company, but I think they are quite risk averse, so I think it's weird that we all have our own businesses, but I think what probably stood us in good stead is the fact that they are like so encouraging and so enthusiastic and so supportive. Like we could have done anything and they'd have been like, amazing, that's the best thing ever, like you'll do so well. So I think we're all pretty like confident in our ability and like we'll give everything a really good go. And I also think they're both like hardworking, really good work ethic. So I think all of those things were definitely provided, but it's not like we're coming from a string of entrepreneurs and people that founded companies.
I think you're right. Like there was so much encouragement and support for everything that we did. But I think teamed with that, which is like the important part, is it wasn't just blind encouragement. It was paired with you have to figure it out. So it wasn't all just done for you. So yeah, there was lots of praise, but then also, like I was thinking, I remember when I told Mum that I wanted to go and train to be a dancer, and she was like, okay, right, go and find out where you want to go. So, and it was like in the days where you just had one desktop computer. So I went and researched, found all these schools, and then went back to her and said, oh, I have to go an audition like 8 times down in London. How am I going to do that? And she was like, I kind of thought she was going to say, your dad and I will pay for you to go. And she just said, well, I don't know. And so then I had to go back and get extra shifts and get money to travel, to go to all these auditions myself. So it was like building that autonomy, I think.
Yeah.
And those problem-solving skills.
Definitely. I thought back to a couple of my own examples and 2 things came to mind. I think we definitely had the encouragement, but there was also a feeling of you can do anything that you want. So I remember being in primary school and I had a dream to write a book and Mum was like, okay, like write your book. And so I wrote Plane Trip to Portugal. And there was one boy in the class whose dad was like a film reviewer and she was like, well, you know, he's in the media so you could contact him. So I contacted my friend's dad and he was like, I mean, I don't know, but I think, and Mum probably knew that we were never going to get published. But the point was, she was like, yeah, go try it, go do something. And
there was no doubt.
There was no doubt. And it was like, just go see what you can do and figure it out. And then the second example I thought of was when I was maybe like 13 or 14. I was desperate to go to drama school, and I got in, and I was so excited, and it was £250 to go. And I was like thinking,
it's like a week.
Yeah, it was a week, and I thought, this is my ticket to Hollywood. And then she said, well, how are you going to pay for it? And I was like, oh, I'm kind of hoping you guys would. And then she said, no. So I cleared out the whole house and sold everything at the car boot sale in Tesco's for 4 weeks. And I made the money to go.
Great.
And I was like 14, and I think that kind of like, go figure it out. Like, and I always think, like, what's the worst that can happen? I still think that now, like, just go do it, like, who cares? Like, go and see what happens. So
you had your funky fingers business.
Exactly. I know,
well.
like, I'm like, well, I first delved into the beauty world age 6 with Fiona's Funky Fingers.
Yeah.
And I can remember mum being like, well, you'll need to, like, advertise that service. So tried to set up a massage business, a mobile massage business. Yeah, at the age of, like, 6 or 7. And got, like, Auntie Moira to print them all at her work. And I was like, done deal. This will be successful. Charge 50p for an hour. Like,
oh, fake.
Yeah. But all of those things, and we also all had jobs from very young.
Yeah.
I was an Avon
like
lady.
14.
yeah, I think it's like illegal now, probably. But yeah, we all worked at like 13,
worked in the
14.
chippy,
Yeah.
like always had jobs, and like there was no option. You never called in sick.
No.
You were never
No.
late. Like you got there on time. You wore the
I
uniform.
was thinking, I walked from school
I know.
to the chippy.
Yep.
If you think about that, it must take
It's
me
so
about an
far.
hour, over an hour
Yeah.
to walk there.
Yeah. But then we learned to have like our own money, and like they would also help us along the way, but there was a lot of like self-sufficiency, and I think about that a lot for my own kids. Like, how do you build that self-sufficiency and resilience and not
Yeah, and a
not
bit
make
grit.
things easy for them, because
Yeah.
then they just are not capable adults. So yeah, I feel extremely privileged. We should say that, because our mum will definitely want a big shout out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mum.
Go, baby.
Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
For all of that motivation, and still like are very encouraging.
Yeah, real cheerleaders.
And we
always.
see that going through to our own children. They need to go through to the Mum, Papa John, Dad's school of discipline sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, so going back to those early days when you were thinking about starting the Aesthetics Club and Glasgow Dance Academy, how did you get started? I think a lot of people would love to have their own business, but like just don't even know where to begin. So I think that'd be useful. Hazel, you can maybe start that one.
It wasn't really a kind of long-term plan or anything. I just kind of jumped into it. I'd finished dancing professionally and was doing my teacher training for my postgrad at Glasgow University, and I just kind of missed dancing too much. So it went hand in hand. I already had my teaching qualification and had done a wee bit of freelance work. So you and Craig had already been running tag for a while, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to start a dance school. And you were both just like, yep, great, this is what you should do. You know, like I was thinking about this, I didn't even know, like I think Craig had sent me the link to Company's House, like I didn't even know what that was. And you're like, oh, should we be a limited company or a sole trader? I didn't know any of that stuff. So I felt like I was lucky because I had someone that was already running a business. So in a way it just seemed totally doable to me. I know they're very different businesses, but and then it just started, but also just kind of jumping in. Like I didn't really think about it too much. I just started, you know. Yeah. So yeah, and then it grew and all went fairly well.
And how did you get started, Fiona?
Yeah, I think kind of similar, because I had you guys as well. And it just that it makes it seem more achievable and like quite a realistic career path, which I think it probably isn't. So the naivety probably helped.
Yeah.
But I was working in London for a really big company, and part of it was like looking at this huge company that was worth so much money and really seeing the holes in it and thinking, there's so many things wrong with this, and there could be such a nicer way to do it. And I thought, I want to do that. And the more and more I was there, the more I thought I could do something like this, but make it better. And I had quite a nice safety net in that with them. I managed to reduce down my hours, and I found space in North London, a clinical space. I thought, right, I'll rent this one day a week and see. And I remember setting myself the goal to make £300 in the first month that I did it. And I thought, if I can see enough people make £300, I made 3,000, and I was like, okay, I think this is going to work. Yeah, I was like, this seems like it'll be okay. And then I continued working for the other company for 3 months, And then I was offered a job as a clinical trainer, which was a self-employed position, so you could do as much hours as you wanted. And I thought that feels like a really good fit and the right next step. So I took on that role as being a trainer for another company, and then worked for myself for, it started as 1 day a week and then really quickly grew to 3 days a week. And it just evolved from there, and just grew quite fast, which was really nice in the first year. And then when COVID happened, Toby and I were expecting Olive, and we moved back to Glasgow, and I thought I better do some work. So it started the clinic in Glasgow, and then that's when things really started to grow much, much faster.
Mm-hmm. It all makes so much more sense when you look back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At the beginning, you're just like, you just start, and then you just keep going. And then it's only like when you actually look back over like what is pretty much a decade for both of you to be like, right, that was actually all of those steps led us to that point, but it's not clear. It feels so chaotic when you're in it.
It's just the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard that recently. Like, everyone kind of overestimates what they can do in the short term, but underestimates the long term. Yeah. And I think you only really see that when you kind of look back the way. So, I think that's helpful, and that's what I would say is like, just start, just do something. Everyone talks about it, or I'll do this when, but actually life just gets more and more complicated with mortgages and children and all of these things. If that's the path you go, it is easier just to start and test it, and if it doesn't work, cool, fine.
Or as well, the more you go on, I've thought that the past couple of years, the more I think through decisions a bit more. I suppose with more experience, where the pitfalls are or things that could go wrong, whereas back then I didn't know it, so I just did it and I didn't really think too much about it. So there is, I don't know, sometimes a flip side to having all that time. Yeah,
and more knowledge and more experience. Like, at the beginning we were always like, if this doesn't work, we could get a job in a pub and be fine. Like, that was always like what we felt back to.
What was that exercise you said you used to do, that you were like, if this happens, then what? Then what? Then what? Like, all the way down to like the worst case scenario.
I've done that recently. Like I think I only learned that maybe a couple of years ago. Like, because then you go, oh, imagine we lost a big client, and then you're like, okay, cool. Imagine we did lose that big client. What would we do? Well, we would go out, we'd do this, we'd build that up. Like, so you kind of disaster plan, and then what you figure out is, once you disaster plan, you actually do have a solution, so it's fine. So just like, just keep going, and stuff will go wrong, like, every day, actually.
And I think I remember you saying, like, you are a nurse, there will always be a need for nurses. Go and get a job in the NHS. Like, if you need to do that, you could always do that. And I think there is always a solution. Like, you will never be stuck. And I think if you work really, really hard at it, you'll probably never have to use any of those options anyway.
Yeah. I forget you're a nurse, actually, sometimes.
I know people always say, did you used to be a nurse? I'm like, no, I still am. I'm still doing medical things.
I tell the kids you're a nurse.
Yeah.
I know, I like telling Olive, I'm very, very caring.
I remember when the kids have something wrong, I'm like, Fiona, what's this rash they have? Okay, so then, thinking you've both been doing this a pretty long time, how do you stay motivated and keep showing up? Like, what do you think has maybe been unique about what you do that's got you to this point?
I feel like quite a motivated person in general anyway, just that kind of get up and go, and that was definitely, like, thinking back to, like, mum, like, in the morning, we were always, like, up and out and going, like, never lazy. But my interest really lies with teaching children and how they develop and how they learn, and then obviously the dance and performing arts side of things. So I get real job satisfaction out of seeing children be successful. And then I feel lucky because my business is also just what I really enjoy. So it kind of all works together quite nicely. So the motivation of that, but then also more recently now, having a family and running your own business, having that time freedom and flexibility is just like gold, isn't it? Like, it's so important to me to be around when my kids are wee. So having the business, that kind of motivates me because I get to kind of pick and choose how everything runs and how I spend my time.
Yeah. What about you, Fiona?
Yeah, I think it's like, again, like when you're looking back and you see the growth, I think like that really motivates me, and seeing it getting bigger. And like, I think of the team, it started just me, and then in 2021 we were a team of 3, and now by the end of this year we'll be a team of 30. So I think like that really motivates me, and seeing other people like really enjoying working with you and like all kind of having that shared end goal, and being like they're proud of where they work, which I think is so nice. Like, that's such a nice feeling, and something I didn't ever really anticipate having. And I think that's really lovely. And yeah, I think just like people knowing, or people being like, oh, I've heard of you, or my friend goes to you, and I think that's really nice, like getting that, getting recommended and getting that feedback of like someone you meet, like someone I met at a wedding or something. I was like, no way, do you own that? All my friends go there. And I'm like, oh, that's a really nice feeling.
You're famous.
Yeah. But I was like, that's a nice feeling to have that sort of, nice feedback. And I think the team growing, just seeing it expanding the way I wanted it to, and still keeping that standard really high, like just having something you feel really proud of, it keeps me motivated. And I think like I love working. I do really enjoy my job and enjoy what we do. And I think I'd be bored if I didn't have that to focus on.
Yeah, and it's often something you just made up. That's what I always find so funny. Like, it's totally made up. You just made up this thing, and then now you've got like people and clients and all this. And it's like, it's made up. I made up. It's all in here, and we continue to make it up. So that's why I'm like, anyone can honestly do anything that they want. So I think you are both very resilient people, and it's a topic I'm always fascinated by. How do you think you've built that up, and then also how do you inspire that in your children?
I think, again, like a lot of resilience does come from our upbringing. Like I think, and you don't appreciate it at the time, or I think if anything you resent it. Like Mum did definitely make sure that we had the ability to like problem solve for ourselves, and at the time you think, oh, this is hard, or you look at other people and like, they got bought a brand new car for their 17th birthday, but we had to save up, and then Mum and Dad would match what we made or whatever it was. But now you're so thankful for it, and you think like that just, it makes your life as an adult so much easier, because that is just your mindset without even trying to. It's work hard and figure it out for yourself. And like I think just with the years of doing it, you just get better at it. Like when I first opened the clinic in Bearsden, there were so many issues and it felt so hard to do, and dealing with loads of contractors and different people and hiring staffers. Now dealing with such a bigger team and bigger projects and more contractors and all these things, it doesn't feel stressful. It all feels like pretty manageable. But I think looking back, I think it's just because you grow and you change and you figure it out and you become better at solving those problems, and you foresee them and you know what's coming. So yeah, I think a lot of it is just the way we were brought up, and then it's experience. It's just what you get used to dealing with day in, day out. And then instilling that in our children. I think like it's hard, but you need, like, it's not giving them the answer to everything, letting them figure it out, trying to make them be brave and tough and strong. And
so the thing I heard recently said that if your child comes to you with a problem, give it back.
Yeah, give it back to them. And
so I've been trying to really. I have no idea. Yeah. But
watching them button up their clothes.
Think about that. I know. Like I try to think a lot about struggle time, because I find that a real trigger. Like if they're crying or whinging, I'm like, I can just help with this. Yeah. But giving them struggle time. Yeah. And it's kind of uncomfortable. I think it says more about me. It's more me that finds it difficult to like let that happen, or I can do it myself. I'm like, okay, fine, but we have to leave. Yeah. But the thing about giving back their problem, I'd heard that recently about how that it's really about an adult's ego for helping the child makes you feel better about yourself because you're needed, but really what they need is to build their self-esteem up by learning how to navigate a problem. And I just thought that was so interesting. So I'm trying to think of that so we don't have snowflake children. But the resilience thing, I think, like, our upbringing, but definitely when I went away and trained and auditioned and worked as a dancer, I thought that's where I got my resilience, like my real mental toughness, because you're told all the time, for 3 years, it's not good enough, you're not working hard enough, and you're exhausted. And then to go and audition, I mean, I was thinking back to my auditioning days, like you're going out to all these auditions, looking your best, and then you're cut in 5 minutes. And day after day, I mean, I've been pulled up to the front of a room of hundreds of dancers and told, oh, yeah, we think you're a good dancer, but you need to lose £5 so you won't book a job till then. And I was like, okay, bye. And then off you go to work in your cafe or whatever for the rest of the day. Yeah. So
it's hard.
It is so hard. So then after that, when you're doing other things, I think when you've been in those uncomfortable situations, other things seem less difficult. So I suppose it's about doing hard things.
Did you not get your wrists measured once just to check everyone was like thin enough?
The same, I know. It's not slipped.
That's crazy.
I would never pass.
After I got told I was too fat for that job, I phoned you. I remember I was at the train station. You were like, "Oh, how do you feel?" And I was like, "I don't care. I've just bought a Mars bar." But then, actually, it did make me think, "Oh, right," because I'd left college and I wasn't in as good a shape. So then I stopped eating my Mars bars and got in a bit better shape, and it probably was a good thing. But it's just that consistency, isn't it? Like showing up and
taking the painful feedback sometimes. Like,
Oh,
obviously,
man.
that's a very specific industry, and that's how it works. But I think probably your upbringing also set you up for being able to cope with that. Like maybe others would have gone and said, "Oh, you need to lose 5 pounds," you'd be like, "I'm so embarrassed, I can't go back," or whatever. Whereas actually, like, okay, cool, I'll take that. I'll listen. I feel like shit today, but I'm going to come back and try again. And
I'll
feel
eat
like
my Mars bar and
I'll eat my Mars bar at the gym
tomorrow.
I'll start again. And I think it's that kind of sets you up for like just keep showing up, and you can have a rubbish day, but you need to come back. So it's like,
but then also it being something that you really want, like that's where your resilience comes in. I wanted to book jobs, so I kept coming back. So I suppose it has to be something that intrinsically motivates you, so that you are coming back to it and you will take the hits until it works.
And I think it is that. I think that intrinsic motivation is so interesting because it's doing all of the work for years and years that nobody's really paying any attention to. And then like 10 years later, it's like, oh, you've got this business, or you've done this thing, and you're like, that's years. Like our business coming up for 14 years. Like it just takes a long time. And I think it's the showing up every day when stuff is really difficult. You have very difficult days, told you're rubbish, told this, told that, and then you just have to not believe it and come back the next day. So I think there's lots of people who are maybe more talented, more intelligent, way more things, but just don't have that very mundane grit to show up every single day and just keep going even when it feels like really rubbish. So
But like you said recently when we were talking about it, if someone had said it'll take you 10 years to get to here, I'd be like, oh right, okay,
No,
that's
thanks.
quite long. But when you're just like, you're doing it, and like you say, if you're seeing it grow and get bigger and better, that's motivating. And then you're like, oh, that's been 10 years and we've done this and now we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the kids, I think it is do difficult things. You don't quit dancing on the day that you're having a bad day. You can quit on a good day.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
like,
kids tell me all the time they don't want to go, and I'm like, oh, you're going.
you're going, oh yeah, 1,000,000%. I'm just like, you're going. And then I think you maybe get to a point and say, okay, let's discuss what you actually want to do, but it's not on the day when you can't be bothered going. It's at a more logical frame of mind.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I suppose, how do you think we all support each other in our businesses?
Group chat.
Oh, so much.
Yeah, loads. I think like we're all so proud of one another, which is lovely, and I feel Hazel and I, because you did it first, have been so lucky to have you and Craig and like have our unofficial board meetings with you guys, and you help with so many things. So many things we just didn't know how to navigate, or like difficult decisions with staff and hiring and firing and all those things. You guys have helped so much, and I think because everyone is going through the same things, like they're really different businesses, but the problems really are the same in everyone's companies. So I think there's so much crossover there and so much advice to be shared, which is so nice and so helpful.
Or just someone that's done it before. And then I was thinking this, it just seems, so then because you guys were already up and established, and then whatever my problem was or my worry was, you were able to be like, oh, well, we did this, or this is what you can do, and it just made it seem like less of a problem, just far more manageable because you'd seen someone else do it. But yeah, even down to the small things, like it's just a message, isn't it? And like to get a bit of help or a recommendation.
Totally. So many good recommendations, and we're like so lucky we've got Ross as well. Like I feel like between us as a family, weirdly we have loads of bases covered for a business and like the support you'd need. And
but then also we all ask for help. I find it easy to ask for help.
Yeah,
so like, do it yourself. I'm like, I have all these. This person is good at this, and then it works both ways. I am happy to help anyone that wants help with my skills that I'm good at, and it all kind of called Auntie Moira calls it the big help.
It is. It takes a village. Like that's what I really see is like we do all lean on each other, and it's like in and out, even like into our broader family with cousins and like someone's good at finance or someone's good at design. Like we've got all of these people, and it's really, really helpful, I think, to have that kind of system around us and people that genuinely are invested in your support and like really, like, I find it so exciting to see you guys succeeding. Like, I'm so proud. I was like, when Fiona won the aesthetics nurse thing, and we all were just like so excited, like burst into tears. Like, it was just such a raw emotion, but it's like really comes from such a good place. So I think knowing that, so when the difficult times are there, everyone's like,
everyone rallies, like, you're so supported.
Everyone's there. And I think it is a unique position running a business and having children. And I never ask the question about work-life balance because I think it's impossible to answer. But I think just knowing everyone's in the same kind of position and just trying to do their best and figure it out is, helps you to keep going. Okay, so can you share what has been maybe a major challenge in your business and how you got past it?
I knew this challenge question would come up. So I was trying to think of like a specific thing that was a challenge. And obviously there's been lots of difficult things along the way. But like you were saying earlier, you don't realise until you look back. And I think more recently I've been having sort of targeted support that's really specific to my industry, which has been great. But I realised up until that point, I know we have each other as help, but like 90% of the time I'm sitting myself, making all the decisions, we should do this, or maybe we'll try that for a show or a class, or I'll make this the time, or whatever it is. And that's actually been really hard over the past like 9-10 years, not to have somebody else sitting there with you. It just all kind of falls to you, which at the beginning was good because you have all the power and the control of where things are going. But like I suppose you and Craig are together, so you have someone to say, do you think this is a good idea, or no, we should maybe do that, someone to kind of motivate you or inspire you. But I think that's been the biggest challenge, is that you're just kind of doing it all yourself, making all the decisions yourself. That's what I think that's what I've found. I didn't really realise that until I started to think about it a few months ago. Yeah,
and when you actually got some more help, you're like,
I was like, this is what it could
so useful.
Be like, to have someone to say, no, do this, or and kind of bounce off each other. That would have been great to have done that.
But you maybe wouldn't have even had the right questions. You know what I mean? Like, when this comes along, you're like, I've established a business, I've got a system that's doing well, but I think we could go even bigger. But you've got it now, so that's good.
Got it now. There we are. Got there in the end.
What were you feeling?
I would say for us, I mean, there's been loads of different things, but I think for me, I'm so focused on like the standard being really high throughout the team, and I found it quite difficult to recruit the right people, and keeping that standard really high and that passion really high. I found like there seemed to be a bit of a disconnect, and we couldn't really get the right fit. So it would become really hard to try and find people and to get people in our team that I thought they're like really delivering and really love the job. So we launched a training academy, which basically brought people who were passionate about the beauty industry and who loved skin and loved doing facials and things but didn't have a beauty background into our team, and we pay for them to get a qualification in just facial therapy, and that worked amazingly for us. We found such good people, and people were so passionate and excited to be part of that industry. And then what we do is it's our TAC Academy. They then train with us for 6 months, and then they are offered a position as one of our skin specialists, and being able to sort of just solve that problem and find these really passionate, really amazing people has felt so nice and so good. And it's just such a nice position to be in, that even though it took longer, knowing that we've got someone who's going to stay with the team long term and who really loves the role and is going to deliver really amazing experiences for our patients and clients has felt like golden. So that for us was really difficult to try and find people and try and hire in people that we felt like were a good fit. But having this solution has been amazing.
That's a great
problem
idea.
Solved.
And I think the mindset is the bit that you can't kind of build in someone. I think that's just the way that the person is. So the way that then you can add the skills on top of that mean that you've got people who are like totally invested in the journey, which is you're right. Sometimes you just want people in really quick because you're busy, but actually taking that 6 months to train them up when they already have the passion is such a great idea. So glad to hear that. Okay, how do you think your entrepreneurial journeys will influence your children, and what lessons do you hope they learn from watching you?
I don't know, I feel like my kids just see me as a dance teacher. I don't really think they see me as a business owner or an entrepreneur. Maybe they will when they're a wee bit older. Maybe they're just a bit too young at the moment. But I don't know, I think what I would like them to see is the consistency of showing up and working hard. I think that's really what I want them to see about whether I was running a business or not.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, well, obviously one of my children, he's one, so he's no idea. What do you think, Jake? I think actually right now probably it's more of a worry for me rather than, like, I feel I work a lot and I travel a lot with my job and people want appointments in unsociable hours, so I work evenings and things like that. So I think at the moment actually is more of a worry than something that I think, oh, I hope they're so proud of me and think this mum's doing amazing. I think, no, they just want mum there. And I think that is hard, and that feels more of like something that I worry about than I feel really proud of at the moment. I hope the older they get, they feel proud too, but I think it's something that, yeah, like the mum guilt is real, and it feels like, especially at a really busy period like this, that we've just opened a new clinic, it feels, like a real struggle and a real team effort. Like Toby does loads and Nicola helps us so much, and I feel really lucky for that. But you do, like, you just want to be home with them too, and you can't be because you've got your other baby that you need to grow, and like at the end of the day you're doing it all for them as well. So I think it's just finding that balance. But I think, I want them to know, like, you work hard, and like we have a lovely life, and I want them to know you work hard. Like, that doesn't come for free. You have to work really, really hard to get that, and you have to put the hours in, and you need to do something that you love and you're passionate about, and you need to put in the groundwork to get those nice things in life.
That wasn't something like, obviously, like our mum and dad worked really hard and provided such a lovely life for us. I think I didn't even really realise that until I was like in my 20s though. Like really realise it, you know?
But I think like we have a nice life. And then I also think, like, the thing with mum and dad, like, we weren't spoiled one bit. Like, we were absolutely spoiled, but we weren't. Like, we had lovely things, but I felt like we were really aware that it was special and it was a treat, and we weren't just given everything. Like, we did have to work for things, and, you know, we weren't spoiled with material things, I don't think, all the time. And I think, like, that's something I'm so aware of doing. Like, just because you could give them things, don't give them things, and they don't need everything. So I think there's lots of things that you need to try and just figure out and navigate the best you can and get that balance. But I hope and mainly just you want them to be like good people, hard workers, know to keep showing up and know to, like, you know, do something that they love.
And I think you actually can't appreciate what your parents did for you. Well, I don't think I fully did until I had my own children. And then I was like, I was so selfish. Like, you just always kind of wanted what you wanted. You didn't understand. And it's only now, like, I remember my mum and dad, like, saving up for a whole year for us all to go to Florida or go to Australia or something. It was, like, a big thing. And, like mum would take packed lunches every day. Like, it was these little things that they did so that it would enable us to have these amazing experiences, which we've, like, remembered our whole life.
And I saw something recently in Michelle Obama, a clip of her talking, and she said that what your children are practicing now is who they will become. Like, she was saying that if you want them to be hardworking, if you want them to be resilient, if you want them to be a kind person, they have to be doing those things now to be that person. If you're trifling and lazy, then that is what they will be. So it's like, now whatever they are practicing, that is who they will be. I mean, maybe that sounds obvious, but that kind of resonated. Yeah,
they're not going to change completely.
They won't just, like, become this hardworking, great person from not being that.
Yeah, more chores.
More chores, that's it.
We've got that now. We've got, like, a list of jobs.
To wash them, stacking the dishwasher or something. Do you think you had any kind of big moments along the way that kind of contributed to your growth as a business owner? Like, was there anything that happened that you thought, okay, that feels like I've kind of validated myself and I'm on to the next level? Any kind of big standout moments or highlights?
Isabella.
Oh yeah, you've seen it, all the famous people.
No, I think that, you know, for us as a business, like, tapping into that influencer market, and a lot of it happened really organically. There were patients first, and then they just posted to say they were there, and we saw a huge amount of growth in Glasgow from that, and from, like, Jess Ted's coming in, and everyone loves them, and rightly so. They're great, and they're so fun, and they're really honest, and they're great. That really, really helped us having some really, like, key influencers in. I think, like, every clinic, like, when I opened the clinic in London, I remember thinking, like, this felt like a real moment, like, being in such a nice area, and the clinic was beautiful, and seeing people really excited to come to it, that felt really special. So yeah, there's been a few things that just, I think there's little things that happen often that you think, that's good, or that was a really good day. Like when you have a great day. A power day. Yeah. We've had some good power days and you think, oh, that's worth it. Like all that busyness and stress.
Hazel, what's your power days?
No, I don't really think I do any power days.
You put on a massive
show
every year.
I know, yeah. No, we do. Then that's good. That's great. But I don't know. I think it's just more like the incline is like slowly going up. Every year the school has grown and got bigger, so we've never had a dip, which I'm proud of that. But I think that is just that reliability, consistency, which sounds boring to say again and again, but I think that is just what has made the school so big and great. But there wasn't like any big standout moments. The show is brilliant and such a highlight, and that's kind of what we worked towards for half of the year. And after it, everybody's always just like, this is amazing, we love it. I was thinking about, kind of spoke about that for the show, you know, like with that sort of instant gratification that we get all the time now. And then this is more of a long-term thing, which I think is a really difficult skill to teach children, that for 5 months they have to come every week, learn this, work hard this, practice this, and then at the end they get the payoff for it. And that's like the long game. And I think that I'm really proud that that's something that we help children learn.
And you give them such a unique thing, I think, on the show day. Like, it's a real sense of community, and like you're doing this kind of special thing together, like a bit of a closed group that no one else is in. Like for the kids that do it, such an excitement backstage.
They have such
their costumes and like getting to wear lipstick,
and it's like all their hard work and all that's been building to this. So at the end, I mean, they're literally like skipping out of the theatre. They have such satisfaction, and it's really rewarding. I love it. It's great. I mean, it's like a 12-hour day, but it doesn't feel like that for me. It does the next
and they'll remember it. They'll remember that forever. You know, like it's a highlight in their little lives. It's like a really unique, special place to be, you know, like in the wings of a show or like of a stage, and being backstage. It's really exciting and really special.
After Olive did her first show this year, it was like the first time I'd seen her have like that adrenaline. Like I can remember from doing like dance and gymnastics shows when you're younger, but that was the first time seeing that on her, and she was so excited. And she's like, "Can I do it again? Do we do it tomorrow? Do I do it next week? Like, what's my schedule?" She was so excited about it. I was like, that is so nice. Like seeing them on such like a natural high and so buzzing from like learning their dances and putting on that show. Like that is such a nice thing to see as a parent. I think that's why after the show everyone is so like,
and that's what I like to watch. I do watch the kids on the stage some of the time, but really from the wings where I am, I like watching the audience, which is all the parents looking at their children on the stage, and it is like the purest joy in adults' faces that you could ever see. Like just absolute pride, and it's lovely. And I think I've created all of that. Not solely me and my amazing teachers, but I
remember Toby is pretty quiet, and he was like, "Loved that. That was the best day." Like he was so excited. He was like,
I enjoyed that more than I thought.
Yeah, he was like, I was not prepared to love that as much as I did. Like he was so happy afterwards, and like so proud, and like all the dads in the audience, it's the dads that like get me. I'm like, oh my goodness, like look, all these girl dads, like they were so excited. It was so nice.
I think Toby filmed the whole show.
He did.
At work, like, do you want to watch this 50-minute
I know it's like that. Yes, that is so cute. But,
it was amazing. Okay, what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about starting their own business?
Just start, jump in, don't wait till it's perfect. Like learn on the job almost. I was thinking definitely for my kind of work, but I thought that must be true for just so many jobs. Like just get going, because that's when you become skilled, when you come up against those problems or experiences, and kind of figure it out along the way. I mean, have all the right training and things in place if you can, but just get going.
Just get started, show up every day, work harder than anyone else,
ask for help.
I think like in aesthetics, lots of people think that is like a really appealing industry or like a quick way to make money. You do, I mean, in my opinion, you need to have a medical background, you have to have the skills, you have to be really, really good at it, but you also just need to get practicing. So start small, do friends and family, build and build and build, and it will build quickly if you're good. And do you know, like that's.
But then also, do you know, something that we both had was experience working professionally first. before
like I worked
starting
in
your own
aesthetics
thing.
for,
Yeah,
like,
we all did actually.
and in some of like the
Not
best,
very long. No, it wasn't very long, but
Yeah.
I did have a job, and I thought, I think I could do this better.
like I worked in like such busy, intense environments in hospitals, and then I worked in aesthetics and worked for like still some of the best clinics in the UK. So
And then you learn the good and the bad from
so
it.
you take away the good and you know the skill, and then you continue to grow that skill. Like we've both done masters in what we do, and you do like you continue to grow that and develop it. And we have. But I think you need the skill set there. But I think
get one of them.
you just need to just need to get stuck in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true. You also need a bit of an eye, I think, in aesthetics. Like, I think you've seen, or like a passion for it, because I think you've seen, like, maybe you get doctors or dentists who have the technical capability, but maybe not the passion, you know, for the,
like,
I don't know, and I think you need to care.
It's a real,
which sounds
like, there
obvious.
is a real art to it, and some of the people that I used to train, you'd be like, what?
Like, they can't see it.
They can't see it.
it.
You'd be like, where would you treat? And they'll be like, you're like, that's definitely not what you should be doing.
That would be me, I'd be awful.
So it is, it's like really, really appreciating that. And I think, like, you know, you have to have a passion for it. I used to sit on the tube in London and make a treatment plan for everyone in the row in front of me, because I'd be like, this is what I do to you, this is what I do to you, this is what I do to you. And I'd be like, just practice, like, that is practice, like, you have to want to do it. And I spent all my evenings watching YouTube videos of other people injecting and being like, that looks good, or that
Actually,
looks good.
I
And
see you when you're looking at me. I see you scan my face, and I'm like,
you're both looking well.
She's mentally
The work is
thinking, you need a bit of this and a bit of that.
I
And
do.
I go, what is it? And you're like, no.
She's like, do you know what, we'll just do this, and you're like, okay.
Okay, but I think it's that, like, do you know, I do really love it, and so, like, that still, like, excites me. I love when I have someone come in and they're like, I want to, do you know, this bit makes me feel a little bit self-conscious, or I want to make this feel better. So, do you know, the passion has to be there. There's no point thinking of just the profit, but I think you need, well, especially in something that is medical, you need the skills and you need some form of expertise there before you dive in. So you need
don't
to
just start.
don't just start, guys. I take it back. Don't just start.
but with some
if you are
skills.
medical and have experience, just start. You need to do some groundwork, obviously. But I think, you know, if you're in any industry where you think, I love this industry, but I feel I can do it better, then you probably can.
Yeah.
You give it a go.
Definitely. It's been reported just this week in Scotland that women are actually starting businesses at the same rate as men, so about 9% overall for both. What do you think might be driving that?
I think, like, a lot of it is the flexibility of having your own business. Like, a lot of people, a lot of women obviously will have young children and families, and I think people are maybe more confident now because they maybe see it more widely with things like social media and things, that people are working for themselves and making that work for them and work for their families, and it being a more appealing setup than, you know, flinging them in nursery at 8 o'clock and getting them again at 6, and you know, maybe not working for like the best salary. Or you think, I could make that money working less hours and working on my terms, or working my evenings, and there's different things that I think that would suit people's lives a lot more. And I guess now we're just more aware of other people doing those things and successful career paths that other people have taken. So I think it's just, you see it more, so you maybe feel more confident, like, I could do that too, and I can make that work for us. So I think it's maybe just more appealing, and maybe feels a wee bit safer if it's more
like
seen.
on Instagram you see like women talking like about whatever their product is or what their business is, and then that just kind of triggers some ideas.
And like you say, you're like, oh, they are kind of like me, and it might not be what you think is a stereotypical entrepreneur. It's just somebody making a living on their own terms who maybe fit into lots of different boxes. So I think just an awareness of that is really helpful. But very encouraging to see that.
That's great. Well done, women.
Who run the world? Who are your role models or major influences in your life?
Well, I suppose
You guys.
and mum and dad, like such role models.
Like, I think we've got so many strong women, like Auntie Moira as well. I feel like we've taken so much from her. She's like so wise, and like she's got so many good like core qualities. I think like we're surrounded by such strong women. Like, there's no one that would ever be like, oh, you couldn't do that, or
when
that
I had a
wouldn't work.
son, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
What are we going to do with you?
Boy! Like, I feel so there's just so many strong women around us.
I think that's so, like, we're so lucky for that, and something, again, you don't really think of until you're looking back and thinking, oh, that's why we think like this, or that's why we don't really doubt ourselves that much. There's so many people like that I think are amazing.
Grandma Cathy.
Maria Kilgore, the founder of Beauty Pie, and she's founded like loads of amazing businesses, FitFlop, and I listened to a podcast with her recently, and she's so frugal still in such giant companies. I think that is why, like, she's so concerned with what her customer is spending for her product, and I think like she just shows so much value, and she's just so constantly enthusiastic and so passionate about the businesses that she runs. I think like that is she's just got such an incredible mindset, like undefeatable mindset, and I think that is like
good.
What a skill to have. I just think amazing.
I'm going to
like,
coin that too.
Agreed. I think she's just like great. I just would love to meet her and learn loads from her. I think she's incredible.
Love Ken Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
I loved him. He's like a arts education advisor, and his TED talk, I don't know if you can like link it somewhere, but it's so great how schools are killing creativity, and he tells a great story about like thinking about like parenting and our kids and what we want to instill in them. A great story about there was a girl at school and she wasn't concentrating in class, and the teacher brought her mum in and said, we're having lots of problems with her and she won't focus, she's not working, and so they ended up sending her to see a psychologist, and they were sitting in the room talking, and then he said, right, just step outside with me for a minute, and left the wee girl in the room, and he turned the radio on when he came out. I've got chills even thinking about it. Turned the radio on as he left the room, and he said, just watch her. He said that they watched from a window at the back, and as soon as the music came on the radio, she was up dancing, moving around the room. And he said, you don't have a child with any problem. Your child is a dancer, and they have to move to think. He said that's how she learns. She has to move to think. And then she grew up to be a dancer, choreographer. It was Gillian Lynn who was a choreographer for Cats and Chief City Bang Bang, and influenced all these people, touched all these people's lives, and said, nowadays people maybe would have said she had ADHD or put her on some kind of medication, but it's just about learning where children thrive and what it is that they're going to be good at, and then nurturing that. And I just thought that was like, that blew my mind.
That's
like
brilliant,
isn't it? If you judged a fish on its ability to climb,
totally. You got it.
You need that personalised experience. I think that's what I've learned a lot in business, is just like everyone is complex, like everybody is multiple things, so you can't assume that when you're in a school or in a business like you just have this process that fits everybody and everyone comes out like this cookie cutter at the end. So it's trying to remember that. I think we all forget that a lot, but there's
and I
so
think
much
as well though, it's not about not doing the things that you struggle with or aren't good at. Like I was never very good at English at school, but I had to get higher B or whatever to get into the course that I wanted to get into, and it was an absolute struggle even from primary school. Like the spelling test, oh my god, like sliding down the wall because I just was never good at it, and I'm still not very good at spelling or writing or that kind of thing, but I went all the way through school to do my higher English and got a B, and I think that wasn't where I thrived or flourished at, but Mum was always like, you want choices. So even though I hated it and wasn't good at it, I had to still do it, and then I was still nurtured in my dancing.
Yeah, you had that as you always were doing dancing throughout school as well.
English,
like finally I can chuck it. I was like me with maths. I wasn't very good at maths. Chuck that.
You two were so good at English. Oh,
it's good English.
Couldn't do my sums though.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
fractions. I'd be like, no, can't do it.
What are your future goals for your business?
Keep growing, just keep building, keeping everyone happy at the school. I don't really know. I don't have like anything.
I know. I'm like, right, got my 10-year plan, my 5-year plan, my 1-year plan. I think like continue to grow and expand throughout the UK over the next couple of years. I'd really like to be international within the next 2 years as well. I think by the end of this year we'll have the 4 clinics in the UK with a potential 5th with a really exciting partnership, which I think could open a lot of doors for us, which would be amazing. And then ideally, we go overseas in 2025.
It's exciting. And lastly, what is the best bit of advice that you've received between us from one of us? I don't know if you have.
So many, so much wisdom.
I know, there was a lot of there has been so much advice. I think the thing though, it's not maybe so much advice, but we were talking, this was years ago, and I wrote it in my phone on my notes because I was like, sometimes you're so good at just summing up exactly like what the thing is. And we were talking about like the help and support that we have between us. And right, am I going to remember the 3 words? It was honesty, vulnerability, and unwavering support.
Oh.
And I was like, that is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like, we're honest with each other, even if it's hard to hear. You're vulnerable to be like, I'm finding this hard, or, you know, I need help with this, and then unwavered support.
Yeah, totally.
That was you that said that. Very clever.
That's very wise.
Very wise,
Very
girl,
wise.
you are.
Past Laura, very wise.
Yeah.
Everything springs to mind.
Oh, there's been so many things. I think that like just keep showing up, and like you always used to say to me like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I think about that a lot. I always think on days, I'm like, oh my god, and everyone wants your attention, and there's a million problems to solve. I always think if it was easy, everyone would be doing this. Like, and there's a reason you're doing it because you love it, and you know, like just remembering that, like really keeping it at the forefront. I think like it is so unique that we both and all of us have had that, like going back to work quite early after kids and things, and we've really seen each other at most vulnerable times, like breastfeeding and stressful situations with like newborns and trying to like manage a company. And I think that is it, like we are so honest and so vulnerable with one another, but it is like the most safest space to do that, which I think is so nice. And with that comes like such great advice and such support, like unimaginable support, I think. So it is, I think like for women who around them are really like their superpowers as well, aren't they? Like that support network for sure.
100%. Amazing. Well, thank you both for being here today. I've very much enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too.
And we'll post all the links where to find you, and wish you every success in your amazing businesses.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Tag Lab. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure that you subscribe by hitting follow on whatever podcast platform you listen to so you can get the latest episode. Thanks.